Have you ever been to a country where every time a woman steps outside, all the men turn to look? In this video, I'll take you to the Czech Republic, where natural beauty has become the standard for many cosmetic clinics in the United States. Drop a 1 and let's watch the whole video together. The Czech Republic is a small, landlocked country tucked in the heart of Europe. It spans just over 78,000 square kilometers, less than half the size of Poland. But don't let the map fool you into skipping over this name. Czechia is like an old book resting in a wooden cabinet. The cover isn't flashy, but the deeper you go, the harder it is to put down. It's surrounded by giants: Germany, Austria, Slovakia, and Poland. That location makes it a cultural crossroads, where the currents of history all pass through. Not modern like New York, not glamorous like Los Angeles, but in Prague, a single glass of beer can tell you more stories than a whole sightseeing tour. In the Americas, people live fast, like speeding down a highway. Here, everything moves slower. People choose to sit, choose to look up at the old rooftops instead of down at their screens. Cobblestone streets, buildings from another century, old cafes. No need for hype. Just slow yourself down a little. Czechia doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be deep enough to hold on to those passing through. And once you step in, you'll see. This little place contains all of Europe in every corner street. If you love hidden corners like these, go ahead and hit that like button. Prague lies in the northwest of the Czech Republic. A city not very large, yet enough to make you want to wander endlessly. Its population is just over 1.3 million, but it doesn't feel crowded. No noise. Everything here is just enough. Quiet, yet complete. Women in Prague don't need to try to stand out. Just one glance, a leisurely walk through the streets, and people turn their heads. A long coat, flat shoes, hair gently flowing in the wind. That beauty is unassuming, yet magnetic in its subtlety. The cost of living in Prague is moderate. Not cheap, but not out of reach either. A craft beer costs just a few euros. A meal at a mid-range restaurant is still accessible. What's most worth it is the atmosphere. Slow, peaceful, rich enough to linger in memory. Praguers speak little. They're not hasty, not loud, but their eyes are warm, their gestures measured. The closer you live alongside them, the more you see they are genuine, refined, and always respectful of others' privacy. Prague doesn't need clamor to make an impression. It remains quietly in your mind simply by existing. It's a style. It's how they walk slowly through the night streets, in a muted-colored long coat, leaving behind that vague air of an unfinished memory. In the Czech Republic, people don't use the euro like much of Europe. They use the koruna, a currency as distinct as the country's own pace of life. Each coin, each little paper note carries a tangible sense of everyday life and an unmistakable local identity. Czech women have an indescribable beauty, not loud, not heavily made up, but deeply alluring. In the capital Prague, the place of convergence and modernity, women tend to be sharper, more confident, more individual, like a decisive stroke in a classical painting. In smaller cities like Brno or Olomouc, they are gentler, more discreet, living in a slower rhythm, as though in an old piece of music. If in Prague they are a strong espresso, then in Brno they are a warm herbal tea. Each place a different shade, but sharing one trait: depth and authenticity. Every slight gesture, every nod, every fleeting smile holds layers and meaning. Czech women don't try to impress, yet they often become the thing you remember most after your trip. In a city where every street corner bears historic traces, they are the quiet lifeblood that meanders through golden evenings and cobblestone alleys. Have you ever heard the saying, "A street at night can reveal more than a museum by day"? In the Czech Republic, it is almost always true. You don't need to seek famous sights. Here, you just let your feet lead you down a few stone-paved lanes, and you already glimpse the soul of this land. And it is the silhouettes of women in the night streets, silent and elegant, with expressive eyes, that are the ones you remember longest after you leave. The Czech Republic isn't large. With an area of only about 78,800 kilometers, it's less than 1% the size of the United States. With a population of around 10.9 million, scattered through cities with names that sound like music: Praha, Brno, Plzeň, yet each city is a distinct fragment of the soul. In Prague, the pedestrian street na Překopě makes the first impression. By day, it's busy, modern, cafes packed side by side. But when night falls, lights from storefronts reflect off the cobblestones, and the city seems to soften. No one's in a rush. No one's speaking loudly. The click of shoes on the stones, and Czech women walking by in mid-length coats, scarves around their necks, flat shoes, elegant but understated. They don't wear heavy makeup, but their eyes have something that makes you pause. A server sets a beer down at your table without much talk, just a slight nod, that kind of unspoken but kind communication. Soft music drifts from a nearby bar. No shouting, no strobe lights. Evening in Prague is light like a wisp of smoke. You know, the capital Prague is the economic heart of the country, generating nearly 25% of the national GDP. But thankfully, it hasn't lost its poetic side. Prague is also called the City of 100 Spires, because everywhere you look, there are domes, bronze bells, buildings like they stepped out of an Andersen fairy tale. Fortunately, the city emerged from World War II almost untouched, so every step you take on the old street Seletna is like walking through centuries. This was once the coronation route of kings. Now it's a place where dreamers find inspiration at night. The Czech Republic has more than 2,000 castles, more than any other country in Europe. But what stays with me isn't the castles, but the way the Czechs live. Every evening they drink beer not to get drunk, but as a way of returning to themselves. Czechs consume more beer per person than any other country, over 160 liters per year. Yet you rarely see drunks in the streets. Drinking beer is part of the culture, like having dinner or chatting. Here's a small detail. The country is landlocked, yet the waters from here flow out to 3 different oceans: the North Sea, the Baltic Sea, and even the Black Sea. A small detail, but it shows a nation small in size yet connected in many directions. And likewise, the people here are quiet, unassuming, but if you're patient enough, you'll see they are far deeper and broader than they first seem. Heading south, you reach Brno, the second largest city, fewer tourists, and therefore more character. Women here are discreet, poised. They don't stand out at first glance, but when you talk to them, you sense the finesse and depth in how they observe and respond. If women in Prague are the morning espresso, then women in Brno are the mellow herbal tea that lingers. Something else. In the Czech Republic, people don't use the euro, but the koruna, CZK, a unique unit of currency, a reminder that they keep their identity even as an EU member. And for me, that's not just about money. It's about identity. How every everyday transaction, from a beer glass to a train ticket, carries a bit of local soul. Maybe that's why, in this country, it's the quiet things that you remember most. From the small bar lights, to the tap-tap of shoes on the cobbles, to the way a Czech woman turns and looks at you without saying a word. In the Czech Republic, you don't have to look for architecture, it's everywhere. Just walk down the street, and it appears in front of you, quietly, effortlessly. Not loud like Paris, not dazzling like Dubai. Architecture here slows you down. It doesn't scream for attention. It simply exists, timeless, grounded, and deeply present. Prague is the clearest example of this. Stand in the middle of Old Town Square, spin around slowly, and you'll see a stunning mix of styles. The sharp edges of Gothic in the Church of Our Lady before Teen, the soft curves of Baroque facades, Renaissance touches, neoclassical detail. And then, suddenly, the dancing house on the banks of the Vltava, bold and modern, bending reality like a whisper that says, Prague doesn't live in the past. The past lives in Prague. Each building feels like a page torn from a history book. Faded pastel homes with mossy walls and sloping red roofs make you feel like you've wandered into an Andersen fairy tale. But turn the corner, and glass curves appear, as if to remind you this city breathes in layers, old and new, side by side. And it's not just Prague. Cities like Brno, Český Krumlov, and Karlovy Vary hold entire neighborhoods nearly untouched for centuries. There are homes from the 14th century still lived in today, not as museum pieces, but as part of daily life. What's striking is how quietly the Czechs preserve their heritage. No loud signage, no neon lights, just modesty and care. Even a small pub might sit inside a 300-year-old building with vaulted ceilings and raw stone walls. Walk into one, and you're not just drinking beer, you're sipping history. Here, architecture isn't a statement, it's memory, set in stone. It's the quiet backdrop to morning footsteps, first dates, final goodbyes, and all the ordinary years that pass in between. It's not just bricks, not just walls. It's a way of remembering, without saying a word. The Czech Republic isn't a large country, but its population structure is remarkably stable compared to many other European nations. With just under 11 million people, most are concentrated in major cities like Prague, Brno, and Ostrava. Prague, the capital and cultural heart, is the most populated, home to over 1 million residents who live, work, and quietly carry the rhythm of the city. One striking trend is the aging population. Each year, the number of elderly citizens increases, while birth rates remain relatively low. Yet, this doesn't drain the country of its vitality. On the contrary, the Czech Republic continues to attract foreign workers, including a large, deeply rooted Vietnamese community that has found its place here over generations. Life in Czechia moves at a moderate pace. It's never rushed, but it never stands still either. Czechs have a temperament that mirrors their architecture, quiet, sturdy, and timeless. They are polite, educated, and value personal space. And that calm, ordered way of living gives this Central European country its unique identity. Then there's the language, Czech, full of consonant clusters and unique letters like zhu, chi, and ye, which make even the simplest words a challenge for foreigners. Ask for a beer in Prague by saying pivo, prosím, and the bartender might smile, then reply with a rapid-fire Czech sentence no one expects to understand. You nod, a little lost, but in that small, awkward moment, you realize you're somewhere else, somewhere wonderfully unfamiliar. And that's exactly what travel is meant to feel like. These days, most young Czechs, especially in cities like Prague and Brno, speak English well. But if you greet them with just a few words in Czech, Dobrý den for hello, or Děkuji for thank you, you will often see their expressions soften. A real smile follows. Because language here isn't just a tool, it's a gesture of respect, a key to something deeper, a quiet invitation into the Czech way of life. When people think of a stable economy in Central Europe, the Czech Republic often comes to mind. No coastline, no major natural resources, and yet it stands firm in its own quiet way. The Czech economy is built on industry, strong, steady, and often understated. The automotive sector is its pride, with Skoda being more than just a car brand. It's a symbol of national identity. But it doesn't stop there. The country also produces machinery, electronics, medical equipment, and even software. Modern factories line the outskirts of cities like Prague and Brno. They run smoothly and quietly, much like the people who work inside them. Prague is the heartbeat of it all. A cultural capital, yes, but also home to banks, multinational companies, and major investment firms. Many businesses choose Prague for its central location in Europe, for its reliability, and for the Czech reputation for trustworthiness. The country hasn't adopted the euro. It still uses the koruna. A cautious choice, but a smart one. It allows the Czech Republic to manage its own financial policies, control prices, and avoid economic shocks from outside forces. The standard of living here is relatively high. People don't rush. They don't flaunt wealth. But life is stable. Public health care and education are well regarded. Czechs may not grow rich overnight, but they grow steadily. That's how the country moves forward, carefully, quietly, and effectively. Czechs live slowly. They're principled, but not rigid. They love nature, value quiet, and find meaning in the small details of everyday life. On weekends, instead of crowding into shopping malls, they head to forests, hills, and hiking trails with their families. Czech culture places a high value on independence, honesty, and a respectful distance in communication. Not loud, not showy, but the more time you spend with them, the more you see their sincerity and quiet depth. Every season in Czechia brings a new coat to the landscape. In spring, plum and apple blossoms paint the countryside white. In summer, the forests open up to hikers, campers, and mushroom hunters, a tradition passed down through generations. Autumn turns the leaves red and gold, laying carpets along forest trails that feel almost unreal. Then comes winter, when snow blankets the hills, and people go sledding, skiing, or simply take their dogs for walks through whitewashed parks. For Czechs, nature isn't a place to visit. It's a part of daily life. A place to regain balance after a work week. A place to breathe deeply, to listen inward, to reconnect with family. Children here grow up surrounded by fields and rivers, and maybe that's why Czech adults carry a certain calmness. Something quiet, but grounded. In a noisy modern world, they choose to live close to nature, not to escape it all, but to return to themselves. Czechia might not stand out on the European map for dramatic landscapes. No coastline, no towering Alps. But for those who have been, and who stayed long enough to really see, this place is a quiet treasure. Forests cover more than a third of the country. Birch, spruce, and oak stretch endlessly, especially in southern Bohemia and along the Moravian border. Each season brings a different color to the woods. Spring glows with soft green. Summer hums with birds and leaves. Autumn blazes with red and gold. Winter wraps it all in soft white snow. In the north lies the Krkonoša mountain range, home to Sněžka, the country's highest peak. It's a haven for hikers, skiers, and trekkers. But perhaps the most remarkable thing is the air. So clean, you can feel it with every breath. Streams bubble down the hillsides. Small villages rest quietly beneath the mountains. It feels like a world far away from traffic, phones, and deadlines. Beyond mountains and woods, Czechia is dotted with thousands of lakes, both natural and man-made. Many were created in medieval times for fish farming and water regulation. Lake Lipno, sometimes called the Sea of Czechia, is a popular spot for camping, kayaking, and quiet retreats. In winter, it freezes into a natural skating rink stretching for miles. Nature here isn't overwhelming. It doesn't try to impress. Instead, it invites you to slow down, to walk gently, to sit beneath a tree and simply listen to the wind moving through the leaves. Czechs grow up with forests. In Czechia, every trail, every meadow, every wooded hill isn't just scenery, it's memory. It's where people go to step away from the city and back into themselves. And if you've ever sat alone in a Czech forest on a quiet autumn afternoon, you'll understand why they don't have to say much. and why, somehow, they stay in your memory long after you've gone. When you're in the Czech Republic, you feel something in the air, something distinct. It's not just the people, not just the pace of life. It's the architecture, quietly telling its stories everywhere you go. Not loud like Paris, not dazzling like Dubai. Czech architecture draws you in with a kind of gravity that makes you slow down. It's the beauty of silence, of things that have lived through time instead of chasing trends. In Prague, the capital, you only have to stand in the middle of Old Town Square to feel the centuries blending into one space. From the sharp Gothic spires of Teen Church to the softness of Baroque facades, from Renaissance and neoclassical houses to the modern curving lines of the dancing house by the Vltava River, everything coexists, strangely yet gracefully. You walk through narrow streets, past red-tiled roofs, moss-covered walls, tiny windows like scenes from a storybook. Then suddenly, a glass building appears, its curves breaking tradition, as if Czechia is whispering, "I don't live in the past, I bring the past into the present." And it's not just Prague. In Brno, Český Krumlov, Karlovy Vary, everywhere holds proof of how deeply Czechs preserve their heritage. Some homes date back to the 14th century, and they're still lived in, not museums, real life. In the Czech Republic, architecture isn't something you just look at, you live with it. And sometimes, all it takes is stepping into a small pub tucked inside a 300-year-old building, running your hand across a bare stone wall, and you understand. This isn't just mortar and bricks. This is memory. This is the soul of a country that knows how to listen to time. The Czech Republic isn't a large country, but it knows exactly where it stands and chooses its path with clarity. After the upheavals of history, Czechia made a firm decision to turn west. It joined NATO, then became a member of the European Union. These weren't symbolic moves. They were expressions of identity and a commitment to security. Yet Czechia doesn't confine itself to political alliances. It invests heavily in cultural, scientific, and educational cooperation. From student exchange programs to international heritage preservation projects, the Czech approach is not to display power, but to share knowledge. Its geographic position offers a natural advantage. Situated in Central Europe, Czechia serves as a bridge between East and West. It maintains strong ties with Germany, Austria, Slovakia, and Poland, and reaches beyond them with deliberate steps. For the Czech Republic, international relations are not just diplomacy. They are an expression of character. No need to raise their voice, just consistency. No need to be the center of attention, just be trustworthy.